that was bright and loud. Is everyone okay? Your ears may hurt for a while. At least everyone is awake now. Let's close our eyes for a moment and take a deep breath. Okay. This was just a few seconds of too much light and noise, so-called sensory overload. Imagine experiencing this for the whole time of a train ride on the Yamanote line in Tokyo. Imagine experiencing this every day. Can you really imagine such a constant overload without a break? I myself cannot truly imagine it. When I went to a department store again for the first time after 2 years of COVID-19, the bright lights, the loud noises, the music overwhelmed me. But I could just leave. But there are some people who cannot escape such constant overload. What if we listened to their experiences and tried to understand them better? Let's take a moment and think about how overwhelming this can be. Everything is too loud and too bright, and there's no way of getting away from it. For some people, especially those who are neurodivergent, this is their daily reality. Neurodivergent means that their brains work a little differently, like people with ADHD, for example, or autistics. They often cannot ignore bright lights and loud noises like many others can. Neurodiversity now is a concept that makes us aware of how naturally diverse human brains are. Just like people have different eye colors, different heights, or genders, people have different ways how their brains work. Neurotypicals are those whose brains work in the most common way. They can train themselves, for example, to ignore bright lights and loud noises. But many neurodivergent people do not have such protection. Imagine if every day you had to deal with something that was too much for you, but everybody else around you thought it's just normal. Understanding such differences is important because it helps us recognize and fix problems in our societies. When we understand what others go through, we can try to make things better for everyone. For example, when we know that bright lights and loud noises are hard on some people, we can try to make public spaces more comfortable, not just for them, but for everybody. Understanding the struggles of neurodivergent people also helps us avoid treating them as others or as less important. When we stereotype, when we other people, we make unfair judgments about them. And stereotyping is linked to some of the worst events in human history. Learning about and understanding others can help us be more open-minded and kind. Reading books and watching documentaries can help, but to truly understand others, I say we need to step into their shoes. We must leave our comfort zones to understand others better. And this is now where educational LARP comes in. LARP, or live action role play, is a bit like acting in a theatrical play, but there is no audience and no script. You become a character and interact with others to create a shared story. Most LARPs are played for entertainment, for fun. So name a genre, for example, like here, fantasy, science fiction, maybe the Warring States period, or hospital drama, and you will most likely find a LARP using such a setting. Let me show you a video of a LARP inspired by books you probably know.
The dark forest is no longer out of bounds.
Then give me parties. You can hear how it soaks up the gymnasium. Oh my god.
In this LARP, College of Wizardry, you might play a professor teaching the dark arts. You will not only have fun playing that role, but you will also understand what it's like to be a teacher, creating a syllabus and managing a class. When I was a teenager, I joined LARPs where we dressed up as elves, orcs, knights, and wizards. We played in nearby woods, had battles, and told stories at campfires. These LARPs were like video games, where we used our imagination and physical action to create the adventure. EduLARP now is a type of LARP used for education. It helps people learn by experiencing different situations and perspectives. For example, in an EduLARP, you might play a character facing discrimination. Through that role, you learn a little bit about how it feels like to be treated unfairly and understand the challenges some people face every day. Key to any LARP experience is that you participate full body. The story may be fiction. The emotions you feel, the experiences you make are real. EduLARPs are more structured than regular LARPs. They start with a workshop where the organizers explain the setting, the rules, and the characters. This helps everyone to feel comfortable and safe. During the LARP, participants act out their characters, and after the LARP, they discuss their experiences. This discussion helps them connect what they learned in the LARP to their everyday lives. The first EduLARP I co-designed was about the value of ordinary people in a society facing climate change. My research today focuses on stereotypes from a transcultural perspective. This approach questions how we think about culture and difference. So, for example, when people say Japanese culture, they might overlook how ideas and customs came from elsewhere. Some ideas and customs came from elsewhere. They might also overlook how the people living in Japan are in conflict about what is part of their culture, what they think is normal. Stereotyping can lead to unfair treatment of people who are seen as different, as not normal. By understanding and challenging these stereotypes, we can make our societies more inclusive. In Japan, for example, there are stereotypes against hikikomori, people who withdraw from society. Some think, they are just lazy. But that's not true. So we created a LARP about what it's like to be hikikomori. And our participants realized that they had faced similar challenges in their own lives, like knowing what they should do but feeling unable to do it. Currently, we are developing a LARP focused on neurodiversity. My co-designers include a learning association in Germany and a colleague from Tokyo Gakugei University, Kato Kohei. He has co-developed a role-playing game to help autistic children with communication. The children learn to communicate better within the play and outside of it through the game. Children who could not speak before are now leading games themselves. However, instead of asking autistics to adjust to mainstream society, our LARP focuses on their perspectives. So we base the LARP on interviews with neurodivergent people in Germany and Japan. The LARP is set in a sci-fi world where humans meet the Orions, an extraterrestrial civilization with very different behaviors and communication styles. The players need to understand and accommodate their differences to reach a happy ending. Our LARP also includes many sensory overload situations, just like the Yamanote line example from the beginning, which actually comes from one of our interviewees. Only with the help of noise-canceling headphones and sunglasses were they finally able to manage their daily commute to school. Our LARP shows how such small adjustments can make a big difference, and that these adjustments do not harm the majority. To avoid stereotypes, there are no characters in our LARP representing autistics. Instead, both player groups face environmental and cultural challenges similar to those our neurodivergent interviewees experience. For example, the Orions may not understand how humans eat and force too much food on them. This mirrors how well-meaning actions by neurotypicals can sometimes have ill effects, can make things worse. In a high school, students stayed quiet for 3 years to support a classmate sensitive to noise. At graduation, they gave him a silent ovation. This empathy created a safe environment. And such approaches can be applied elsewhere too, for example, at workplaces. Through shared LARP experiences, we can learn to understand and support each other better. Today, I talked about understanding minorities, like neurodivergent people. But LARP can help us reduce conflicts also in other situations by letting us see the world through different eyes, for example, of co-workers or fellow students. Let's take a step outside our comfort zones toward understanding others and making our societies more inclusive. Neurotypical people won't suffer from less noisy environments, but many neurodivergent people will benefit greatly. What small changes can you make to help those around you who cannot shield themselves against things you think are normal? Thank you very much.